but still snowy out and cold. I'd say it's barely over freezing, but we have so anyhow, well, I've been sawing almost all week. I got almost all the logs done except the logs were on the ground and they're still frozen in the ground, so we'll have to wait for one day till it unthaws a bit and then I'll take it out. Well, so I want to talk about some of my thoughts on this chat GPT system. And you know, I sit and think sometimes, it seems like as humans, a lot of people want to have life easy. But it's just like anything else in life. Hi, Pete, Douglas. If you don't exercise, your muscles get weak. If you don't use your mind gets weak. The more we rely on an outside source to do our thinking, we lose we weaken our mind. And a lot of people I've noticed will say, well, it helps them because they can do things faster. But here's the thing I have a serious problem with. When you have a problem and you want to figure something out, you think about it, you study, and you ask God to help you. But with ChatGPT, you put it in the computer and the computer answers you. Now, my biggest thing is that computer could give you false information. I mean, it could be false. It could be skewed. And it could be real. But the whole part of, we would say, direction from God or inspiration from God is missing. How many times in my life I've been thinking about something and had an inspiration? If I always turn to a digital system and say, hey, what should I do? I feel like this just takes away from the relationship with other people and with God. Because instead of me going on to my neighbor to ask for some help on a question I have or talk to my friend, I go and ask ChatGPT. And the thing is, it seems so realistic. People actually think it's human. It's human-like, but it's not human. I mean, and here's the thing. You turn the electric off and it's dead. So it's run by electricity. It's programmed by humans. And this whole idea of, oh, it's going to help the world. I think it will not help the world. Because first off, you can see in the last 40 years, 50 years, what's happened to society. The more modern they've gotten, it seems like less people think for themselves, the less people have a happy, healthy life. Because the basic foundation of life is something to do, something to love, and something to hope for. And if you're living a life where all you're doing is pursuing goods, money, and pleasure, you're not serving, you're not doing anything useful, you're not building anything, you're not thinking of the future, you become disconnected from reality. And I feel like the more people get into this modern system, they become disconnected from reality. And I thought about this. I used to be on Facebook, and I would get a lot of what I would call trolls. And these bots, they were bots, obviously. They weren't humans. And the reason I say they weren't humans is because I used to message them, and they would message it back almost within seconds, sometimes a whole paragraph or paragraphs of words, which you humanly can't type that fast. And so what I started doing is I started messaging 3 or 4 of them at once, and I would get the same response back from different accounts, which means they're being run by a stimulated robot, most likely. But I figure. But what I realized is with this system, perception can be manipulated in comments, likes, dislikes, etc. So for example, I knew a man, he had almost 1,000 Facebook accounts, and he had done it Facebook had shut him down. He was a singer, and he used to play the guitar, and sing songs. Facebook shut his account down for some reason. He got angry at Facebook, and so he decided he was going to come up with. And somehow he made 1,000 accounts. I really don't know how he did it. He said he would do it to troll Facebook to see if it could be done. And so he had 1,000 different profiles that he ran. Can you imagine what a robot could do on social media? They could have millions of accounts and run them all. Be programmed to do that. So I think it's kind of a situation we have where you can't believe what you see. Pictures, audio, essays, books can be written by this thing. And for example, say it writes you a paper. Because you didn't do the research on the subject, how do you know the sources that it quoted are correct? How do you know the sources are even accurate? Or maybe they aren't even right to start with. But I feel like the whole thing is that it takes away from the human using their mind to think, to reason, to dream, because it takes you where you don't have to use your mind. You just put you get the answer. I really dislike that, and I think it's horrible bad. Well, I said we people have been dumbed down so far. This is dumbed down even further. I feel sorry for all the young people who think it's a wonderful thing, because they don't realize if they don't exercise their mind, they will become weak. It's just like your muscles. You don't work, you don't get strong. You feel weak. How's my lighting? I feel like my lighting's not very good, but let's see. Another concern is the internet and all of its infrastructure uses twice the amount of energy as the country depends in the year. This is not. Now, on that source of energy, people act like energy's being used up. I think we have to think about something. The way our systems are built today for energy, built for the businesses and companies to make profit, and and to make money off it. But if people would focus on making energy systems that were more, how would you say it? That could take energy from the earth and the sky. Now, I've been thinking about this, and I know it's something I don't have the money to do, and I'm sure other people have started doing it. But Nikola Tesla, when he built that tower, where he was taking power from the sky and from the earth. So the earth is negative, and then tie into that positive energy and into the negative, you could create power from the earth and the sky for nothing, basically, for the materials of the product. Now, I guess what I was thinking maybe is someone close to the mountains could do it. Put your pole on the mountain and run a wire down the mountain to your machine, and then take your next wire and put it in the ground. I think you have a stronger reaction that way. There was another guy in England that is working on a small system like that, and he said that even just a couple feet above the ground, you'll get a more positive ion current than you will on the earth. And the more deeper you go down, the more negative it gets, and the more higher you go up, the more positive. If that kind of a system could be perfected to where people can make energy that way, we wouldn't have to use any other system. I know it's just a thought. It hasn't been proven that it works, but I think in principle it should work. I think the key is to find out how to make it work cheap enough to make it worthwhile.
And to keep the government from finding out to come kill you.
I think Tesla, his tower he had built was quite large, and he had produced power that way. So I know it can be done. It's just the whole fact of building the original infrastructure. But I was thinking another thing the other day. Machines are made, almost all mechanical machines are made to run on a certain bandwidth. They're running on the frequency of microwave frequency. They're running at a certain megahertz. I'm wondering if it's not possible to build motors that would run on a lot lower frequency. Because you think about it, if you plug a cord in, you get 110. Couldn't someone make a motor that would run on a lower frequency? That's just a thought. And I don't have the answers for it all, but I really feel like a lot of our problems are either one, we're trying to build too many machines so we don't have to work, and we work our whole lives to buy machines, and we end up working anyhow our whole lives to try to buy the machines so we don't have to work. Plus, I think all the machines take away from real life and from family and community, from you know, the overall good of the human. We become weak. All we do is push buttons, shuffle papers. Now, not me. I'm not saying I do, but and I'm sure a lot of people don't either. I'm just saying that I think the main society part of the world is coming to the point where they rely so much on their mechanical means that, can you imagine what would happen if it went down? This whole system is all based on electric grid. It is unstable, possibly unsustainable, and quite likely in the future to go down. So what's going to happen when it goes down? Okay, I want to go on to CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. And I sit scratching my head. How is it people don't see how tyrannical this is? How this could become extremely, extremely hard for somebody if they don't agree with the state. If the state has full control of the money and you have an account with the Fed and they don't like you, they don't have to put you in jail. They just take your money away. It's like, through society, you can always see some people like power and love of money, which is the root of all evil. Love of money is the root of all evil. And a lot of power is not wrong in itself, but when power is used to hurt others for money, it's morally wrong. And I think a lot of this system is based on a godless, the idea that the common good is what matters. But what is common good? These people think in a completely different way than I think, or maybe you think. We feel like we're children of a creator. We're living here on this earth he created for us. We're supposed to be taken care of. He made us. He made the animals. He made the trees. And we believe he made it good. And it's our responsibility to work with what he gave us. On the other hand, you see, their idea is we evolved. We're here by chance. Our ancestors are monkeys. And it's like that to me, that kind of a, I would say, it's a sorry state of mind where you don't see a higher power than yourself or the overall government. You don't see a higher power than that. And you don't see morality as being essential. People say, they say what the society agrees upon is the rule. Well, when you get that, they would call it democratic society. I am, in a sense, opposed to what they would say a democracy, and more in favor of a theocracy or tribal system, where moral law has the rule despite what the masses say. Because when you take away moral law, then the masses are left, like all masses do, they will gravitate towards evil, darkness, laziness, and sloth, and oftentimes war. Because in the end, they need to satisfy their desires, and because they don't work, they need to go take it from somebody, which is what we see happening today. And I was thinking to myself, when you look at the history, there's never been a time in history we've been so close to an absolute tyrannical disaster where either society collapses and reverts way worse than it was in the Middle Ages, or we get into a government that is so overly tyrannical that those of us who don't agree with the masses when they're being considered outcasts, or we would say a measons to society, because we read our Bibles or we believe in something they don't believe in. And a lot of people say, well, America's a free country. And I feel like overall, I would say it's not. Because we live under corporate governments where the land we own, we think we own, we don't own. It's owned by a corporation. We pay taxes on it. Don't pay our taxes, we lose our land. I think when they took us off the gold standard in 1960, I think 60, maybe wrong on that. When they took us off the gold standard, they took away our ability to own true value in our money. We have cash papers. Now, I don't like paper, but it's better than digital. Because once everything goes digital, and you all know, April 1st was the rollout date for the CBDCs, and they're hoping by June or July to implement central bank digital currency. The big banks have already digitalized the ledgers a long time ago, and we're only one step away from something happening to cash and them pulling it. And I know I had friends that say, oh, that wouldn't happen, couldn't happen, but yet it is, and the Bible says it will. There'll come a time when we can't buy or sell unless we have the mark of the beast. And Roosevelt, was it Roosevelt? Franklin Delano, possibly. Yeah, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You know, it's sad because we've gone from off the gold to money that's made out of nothing. They can inflate, so we lose the value of our buying power. I mean, in 3 years, our prices have doubled, which means the value of our work is only getting half of what it used to. That is, in a sense, robbery. It's robbery by the corporations and banks. No, I don't feel free either. We're under a very oppressive system. I mean, the system we're under, we're told we're free. But as free thinkers and humans, I think if we read history, we should be able to see we have to have government to maintain law and order. I believe the government is ordained by God to punish the wicked and to protect the good of society. But when government goes and starts to control everything that you do, what you can buy, what you can't buy, what you should eat, how the family should live, what they should believe, how to teach your children, you come into a system that is wholly opposed to, I believe, how our Creator intended it, where the structure of the government is a pyramid, where the power is all top down, where I see the original or system ordained by God was a family system. Each man was the head of his own home, and they worked as a tribal unit. Which that system, going back in history, I was looking at like the tribal system. It's superior to any other system I've ever seen. Well, I was told a guy one time, just because we might be free in our countries, we don't be free. Yeah, it's true, but if you think about it, a lot of the other countries, they actually have, in some ways, and I'm not saying like China, possibly like China or it's not as free as us. But if you go to Belize or any of the Central American, South American countries, there's a difference between a law that gets enforced and laws that don't get enforced. And in those countries, money buys anything almost. If you say you don't like a law, if you pay the guy, he'll let you go with it. Which I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying they have the ability to get around the law much easier than in America. Where in America, if there's a law, oftentimes there's really no, it's hard to challenge. Because a lot of times, the way the system's set up, it takes a lot of money to challenge a law and to challenge a system. And one person cannot so easily take on the system and win, because the system is set up for the good of the system, not for the good of the individual. So say, for example, land taxes, which I fussed about a lot of times. I think land taxes are wholly unfair, especially when it comes to how we're paying half of our taxes to the public schools. If you think about that, it's like the school system is government run, and it's how would you say it? The curriculum is being regulated, and yet I don't have my children to that system. Yet I have to. I don't have a driver's license and can't sell low scrap metal without a driver's license in West Virginia. Really? Well, that's interesting. And they don't ask for driver's license here. I don't have a driver's license anymore either. My license is expired. I'm no longer going to renew it. I decided I'm just going to try to leave it be. I feel like, you know, how do you say it? Every system in this world has its good points and its bad points. But in this system we have now, I think we need to really consider where it's headed. People need to wake up to the fact that if we go, because 2015, mine expired. If we go to a system where we no longer have cash money, this could be extremely dangerous for people like me or you, where they can regulate, control, and punish those they don't like. If a tyrannical government, which I believe we somewhat have, I mean, it's like the government today has come so far from what it used to be. I mean, you can go back in history and say, I believe America was founded on principles that I think were honorable. But as time went on, it became further and further away from the original system. It went from republic to, now they say, democracy. And in democracy, majority rule, which is in a sense mob rule. They'll say, oh, it's not a mob. Well, yes, but if I believe something, society doesn't, but yet 90% of society doesn't believe it, then I have to comply for the good of the whole under the democratic rule of law to the 90%. But why is that? Because as a free individual, we should be able to stand even just 1% different from society, and be able to live the way we feel without being hindered. That's what I like. Now, I was thinking one day, I lived in Belize for 10 years. So I had gone there in hopes of finding more freedom. And in a sense, I did. It was more free in Belize than America, but a lot of countries have their drawbacks, or we would say bad sides to them. I have not yet found a country besides the last. If you were a farmer, up to 25 acres, you didn't get taxed on it. Now, I like that system. And there was no school tax. Schools were private or church schools. I would be much more, I'm in favor of a man owning his land. And I wish more people would get together and somehow take back our right to own land. Yes, I know. We want to be, we are pilgrims and strangers in this world. But yet, I feel that the pressure from the society wanting us to conform or wanting us to fit in line with their policies, and I don't think we shouldn't. We should not conform. It says the Bible says that the world first hated me, and it will also hate you. I mean, Jesus was hated by the world, and so will we be. But I think it's still in our lives we want to be left alone. I think for most part, most of us want to live in peace and be able to live as we feel right. The way it does look, it's headed in a direction that's going to be very very tough for most of us. And I've always said I think our best option is to try to produce our own food, our own materials, and produce our lives, our energy source, without relying on the system. That's my goal, and I would hope more of you could get the same way, because the only way we will survive if either the government gets too tyrannical, we can't buy and sell without their permission or being sanctioned by the state, or society collapses and the grid goes down, which could easily happen. I mean, if you think of it, it would only take a small EMP attack in an area to wipe out all the electronics, and then the chaos that result from the grid being down for a certain period of time would be horrible. And I've thought about it over the years that sometimes I think this modern age, people have the idea, it's nice, it's pretty, it works good. It works good till it crashes. And then when it crashes, it's all downhill from there. Electricity in general, I think has been in some ways a good thing, but in some ways it's been extremely detrimental to the family and society. It's made people lazy. It's made them dependent. It's been easier to influence the masses through TV and radio. I mean, if you look at the churches that didn't allow TVs, they maintained a lifestyle that's way more similar to the 18 or 1900s as the ones who had TVs. The TV, I think, has been a big influence, and now probably the internet, on society. It influences the minds. It influences the people to think the way they want to be people to think. I mean, if you look at what's happening now with the media, they're talking against China. They're saying how dangerous China is. Well, I don't think that trains and cars and airplanes have been overall positive. In some ways they have been, in some ways they have not been. Because what it did, by having the modern transportation, it broke down the local infrastructure that was in place to maintain life in your area. I mean, you go back to 1960, every small town had a feed store, a small grocery store. I mean, a family-run grocery store. They had small businesses. But now, in 2020, we have chain stores and large corporations running everything. So it's taken, the modern age has gone from an age of plenty to an age where there is, at this point, plenty. I think it could switch very quick to where only those who are playing the system can live in the system. And for those of us who don't want to live in the modern system, I think we need to consider the fact that we're going to have to step out of the system to maintain our lives. Otherwise, I mean, yes, it is hard to make a living now as a small farmer. There's a lot of people, they don't spend the time to come out to buy things from the farms. They just go to the store and buy stuff there. And a lot of the big stores, they want kind of produce, look a certain way. I mean, in Belize, I used to sell produce, and it was easier down there than in America, smaller lots. And people who figure it out can do pretty good. But for me, I don't like dealing with the big corporations and stores. I'm not into that. I mean, I'm not saying I couldn't, but I don't like to. I don't want to. I don't want to have to deal with all the headache of the what do you call that? The barcodes and the inspections and the regulations involved with it. I would prefer to live just like ranchers used to. I produce something, and if you need it, you come and get it, or you get it from me. But I want to go back and think about this ChatGPT. it worries me how popular things like this are, and to see that people don't consider the fact of how dangerous it could be in the future. Like I remember back when I first got a phone, I used to get online and surf things on the web. And now, if you search the same subject, and I've done it, I've gone back and searched the same subject, you can no longer find a lot of the references on certain subjects have either been taken down, blocked, or removed from the internet. And you have to think, in a free society, information, uncensored information is important. And if the narrative is being censored to the point where you search a subject and the information doesn't even come up or it's hidden, I'm not saying you can search deep enough and find it, but let's take, for example, I want to bring one point out to show what I mean by this. There was a historian in England, David Irving, and I know he's very well hated in England and Australia and Canada and New Zealand and probably the US too. And he's actually banned from coming in certain countries. But what he was talking about was some of the World War II history. And he got so censored, they took down all his videos, all of his lectures, all of his what would we say? Everything he had put online had been pretty much taken off. Now, what was interesting about it is he was talking about a subject that was politically not acceptable. It was out of the it was in the area of we don't talk about subjects. But what I thought was funny about it is that was back in 2017. You could still see his information, or his stuff was still online. And since then, it's been all removed. He's just one of many who they went and took all their stuff off the line. So I think there's more censorship going on behind the scenes when it comes to certain subjects and narratives. And what that does is it really hurts, I think, society in the sense that it changes people's view of things when they don't decide. Just like today about the war against the North against South, they call it the Civil War. I guess no war is civil, but I don't know why they call it the Civil War, because it was civil, it fought between the civilians, but it was very uncivilized, or uncivil, we should say. The war between the North and the South is almost always said to be, when you ask somebody why was the war fought, they'll say it was fought over slavery. Well, that is not only factually wrong, it is wrong from the base, because the war was not fought over slavery. It was fought over land rights and state rights, the right of people to own land without taxation. That's why it started. And if you look into it, we've all been somehow put under this yoke of taxation because the South lost. If the South had won, those places would still not, I would suppose they would still be like they were, where you own your land outright. And the narrative that's told people in all these subjects is to bring you to be a servant to the state, to follow in lockstep with society. And I've always said, it's those, yes, true, the small farmers. I mean, you go back 100 years, 1920, and this whole area was full of small dairy farms and family farms and industry. And now it's all gone. Pretty much every dairy farm is closed down. All the family farms are pretty much gone. And it's like the fall of the agricultural based community is very sad to see. I don't think we should focus on exactly trying to bring back what was then, but we have to think about, if we don't do something now, that when the big corporations, so let's say the grid goes down, or a disease comes in and wipes out the crop, or there's a natural disaster that destroys the crop, if we don't have a local source to feed ourselves, there'll be starvation. And I think modernism has brought this. Modernism has brought this scenario that could play out to us because we've become so dependent upon the modern things. Our lifestyle, people. I heard a comedian once say, "It seems like people grow up to make money and go shopping, and they do that now. How many generations now? People do their job, make their money, and go shopping, and they have a couple of vacations, and they watch TV, and they go make their money and go shopping again." And that's about all that happens with most people. They don't sit, they don't produce their own seed, they don't produce their own food, they don't produce their own animals. Now, I know there are people that do, but what I'm saying is the overall society has gotten to a point where they're dependent upon the overall system. And it's a sad case where I see people don't think. We think, how could so many people not see what's happening? They don't see it. And I wonder sometimes, why don't they see it? Why don't they see how important this way of life is? To maintain the stability of society, we must have a landed society based on real value of things. People make money on the stock market, the trading, cryptocurrency, and all those things. They're producing nothing of value. They're producing money or currency, but they're not producing value. I think the whole principle of producing value is what's important. I mean, we're told when God said to man, work by the sweat of your brow to eat your bread. And I believe he wants us working to produce something good, to provide for ourselves and help others around us. If we make our money by trading cryptocurrency or on the stock exchange, what are we really doing for the society? They say, oh, it's a smart way to make money. It may be, but it's not something that's productive to the good of society because it does not build anything or produce anything from the land. And then children grow up in that environment, and they don't learn to work. They don't learn to produce things, and everybody just thinks, well, I want peas. I'm gonna go to the store and get peas. Well, the thing is, if it's the wrong season, you don't have peas unless you canned them. If you're living on the farm, eating in season and growing your things and learning to wait for it to produce is something that I think people forget about. I mean, it's a cycle of life and a way of living that keeps us in harmony with Earth and God. And I think if we always think on what's easy and what's nice, we'll end up so detached and disconnected from reality that it will be like we're humans living in a fake reality, a fake environment, a fake reality. I don't know how else to say it. But I think this whole CBDC currency thing is a serious threat to our freedom and sovereignty as individuals. And I really wish more people would push back against it. I mean, I accept eventually the dollar will probably collapse. It has to. It's a debt-based currency. The only reason we use is we have faith in it. We have faith in the paper. The paper has value. It doesn't. It's manipulated. Our work is by inflation constantly taken away from us. Like what I see all around me. True. And the thing about it is the authority. When you say lack of authority, it starts in the home where the man is the head of the house, where he can rule in his own home. And that's under attack, where a man can't be a man. He cannot rule in his own home. There has to be the structure God intended was for there to be order and hierarchy. If you remove the order and you remove the hierarchy, and a man has no authority in his own home, then everything falls apart. And I think authority is not wrong. There's a sense we have to look at as very possible. I mean, it could collapse in August. I've known that once China drops $1, it probably will. I suppose the U.S. is trying to put in the digital currency to most likely They would put money into the people's accounts to keep the country afloat, like they did in the pandemic with stimmy checks. They'll stimulate the economy with this fake money, or we'd say money made out of nothing. And then when the time comes, the dollar collapses. I suppose prices will continue to rise. I'm just hoping for myself that I can be able to live without having to go buy things from the store. Which, if you don't have money, worst thing a man can do is finish school. I agree with that, Douglas. It's one of the worst things a man can do. I was homeschooled, my wife was homeschooled, and I am wholly opposed to that public school system. I think it's they're indoctrination camps. They're anti-God. They teach children conformity and not to be free thinkers. They don't show or teach the order and respect between a male and female. You know, you get a society that is so corrupt that they can't even tell a difference or can't even say what a woman is. That is getting to be a sad case. And I've always said, the rest of the world looks on America and says, those people, they're crazy. I just hope that we can realize that not everybody in America is crazy. There are some that are, not all of them. But there's too many of them that don't stand for what's right. That don't stand for the truth. And I think to this point, it's gotten to where it's going to be hard politically to do anything with the government because they've come so far in their system that people have waited too long. I think. I don't think there's going to be a turnaround of this government. Most likely, it will collapse, and then hopefully, those of us that are still able can survive. But what the Bible says, I still believe is coming, and that is a system where the world will be ruled by the Antichrist. And that only goes 3.5 years, but still, the whole point of that, it's going to be a rough time. And I think to survive, we'll probably have to go through a lot of trials and troubles in that time. It will try the faith of many. But if we can remain based on the values, the moral code, hard work, and all true value comes from the land or something produced by labor. And if we go into the subject of value, how many people say I have a net worth of $1 million? But what is their where do they make their money? What is it? What's their assets based on? Some digital ledger somewhere? Do they have anything to show for it? I don't know. I get frustrated when you go to the store and every time you go, the prices keep going up, and it just goes to show that the government is not too concerned, I don't think, about the little man or those of us in society that are small. They'll support large corporations, the business they make money off of, but the little one, it doesn't really matter. As long as they don't keep the people fed and distracted, and they can keep them off their back, they're good. They don't care if you're almost starving or almost have no money. It doesn't matter. But I think in our I would wholly just encourage people to not use ChatGPT. Produce things with your own mind. Draw your own pictures, sing your own songs, write your own writings. Don't ask ChatGPT, what should I say? I hate that. I absolutely hate that. You see stuff now, and it's all made by a computer. It's not made by the person. And I say, like I said, the biggest fuss I have about it is God works in other humans and to help them, to teach them, to how do you say it, guide and direct. But when you turn to ChatGPT, God's not there. And that's a dangerous thing. You rely on an electronic robot, computer, to answer your questions, to write your essays, to draw your pictures, and to make your music. Don't like it. It's not natural. It's not right. It can be manipulated easily, and it calms people down. People are already dumb. They do not need more of this. Um, I think if people think about it, we can't stop the world the way it's going. But I think we can personally try to maintain a lifestyle that is not like it. And it's not easy. I know it's getting tougher all the time to make money. But maybe we shouldn't focus on making money. Maybe we should focus on just living and making enough just to pay our taxes and buy the basics, and then we just live. I know it's hard because we're faced with a, a life changing things happening right now in the world that could change the history of the world completely. I don't think for the better. One wrong person in power, and the whole thing is going to become a horrible mess. But I don't know. I really don't know how to stop it. All I know is I don't want part of it, and I wish I had the answers to know how to turn it around. But uh, I think the best I can do is try to encourage people, plant your gardens, save your seeds, raise your animals, teach your children to work hard, to be honest, to live a good life. Don't try not to make consumerists out of your children. Teach them there's about God in the Bible. Because if you don't teach them, the world isn't going to. Well, we'll teach them its way. And if the children go with the world, they'll be with the masses, and the masses will be destroyed. I don't see much hope for the society in general, the way it's headed. It can sustain itself because they detach from the land, they detach from God. And the Creator said that if we want to be children of the light, we must walk in the light, and we must follow the truth. If we don't follow the truth and we walk in darkness, we're not children of the light. And I feel like it's we where, but I believe that in the end, light will win, because where there's light, there's no darkness. There can't be. So Christ is the light of the world, and he's given us his word, and I think we follow that, and we try to live in a way that we focus on maintaining the values, traditions that were given to us from our ancestors. I believe we will much better succeed in passing it on to our children. Because what the world's giving now isn't any good. In the long run, it's just gonna bring a bunch of trouble. And I just hope I can encourage all you guys to keep fighting the fight. We're fighting against a darkness that is very dark and taking over the world. It says the God of this world has power in the minds of the children of darkness. For men love darkness rather than light, for their works are evil. It says, he that loveth God cometh unto the light, and the works are made manifest. So walk as children of the light. I didn't say exactly right, but I believe that if we walk in light, we'll be hated by darkness. That's a fact. But we'll be able to be worthy to enter the kingdom, the coming kingdom. When Christ returns, we'll be able to be with him. And that's what I hope for. And it's not just to live a life of freedom. Yes, I want a life of freedom, and I want to live independent from the system, truth of God's word. So I hope we can do that and be able to not try to get distracted by what all the world's saying, because there's a lot going on right now. I think it's a distraction from what really matters. I don't know how I should handle this digital currency thing, because I know it's coming, and I know they're going to eventually try to enforce uh, just digital use totally. And if you think about it, most people are already digital. They use credit cards and debit cards and checks. They don't use cash. So it's got to the point now where the average person isn't a cash person, and even the cash we use is paper. So we get down to the point we really have got to start thinking that there's going to come a time when, yeah, he will reign over 1,000 years. Yes, and I'm waiting for that. When he comes to rule and reign for 1,000 years, I hope I can be come into that kingdom. I mean, it's said that if when he returns, those that live and remain will go into that kingdom that are his. And I'm hoping for that. I think we're coming close to time when, according to what I understand, if you look at the Bible, God made heaven in 6 days, and the seventh day he rested. And then, if you look at it, the earth period goes about 6,000 years, and then there's the seventh 1,000-year reign of Christ, which would be the Sabbath. And if you look at the Bible in Genesis 1 and 2, I thought it was very interesting about how people don't see this. The first chapter of Genesis, spiritual creation. Everything was created in spirit. And then chapter 2 is where he made man and created everything in the physical on the earth. And if you look at the people, a lot of people say, and I know this is controversial, a lot of people say, well, he made the earth in 6 days, 6 24-hour periods, but yet the sun was not made until the third or fourth day, and I forget which day it was, but check it there. The sun was made for people on the earth, and man's time under the sun did not start until Adam was made, and Adam was not made till after the rest. And a lot of people don't see that, and I've always wondered why so many churches don't point this out, that when God made Adam was the first of his creation. Then he made the animals and he brought them to Adam, and Adam named them, and then he made Eve out of Adam's rib and brought Eve to Adam. So it's interesting how it works, that the creation, according to my understanding, would have been 1,000-year period, days. And like it says in Thessalonians, the rest that is coming will be like unto the first. And there's 3 places in the Bible we can read: one day with the Lord 1,000 years, and 1,000 years 1 day. So count not slackness, my brother. And he says, God delayeth his coming, because he says he delayeth not his coming, with some kind of slackness, but a long-suffering God, and that all may be saved. I think if you look at the way it works, at the end of the 6,000 years, Christ comes back and establishes his kingdom and rules and reigns for 1,000 years. And that is, we would say, the rest before the new heaven and new earth will come. But if you think about it, read Genesis again, and you'll see the chapter 1, chapter 2. Chapter 1 is first, chapter 2 is second. They're not the same account. One is a spiritual account, one is a physical account. And I always found that interesting where in Zechariah it also says that everything that was made in the day that God made heaven and earth. And so the animals, the plants, the people were made in a spiritual form before they were in the earth, for the earth was barren and empty. And then God spoke and it was. He didn't have to use time. He didn't have to use evolution. He spoke and it was. And then he created it in the physical form from the earth. He placed man on the earth in the garden, dress and keep it. And he said, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. That commandment was given to be fruitful and multiply before man was even in the earth. That's the basis of what God intended, to fill the earth. To these people who talk about, overpopulation, don't have kids, we need to make sure no, that's not God's intention. God wanted us to have children. He wanted us to fill the earth. And I think if we all lived as we should, there is plenty for everybody. There could be many, many more people on the earth if they lived the way they should, and we would be able to operate properly. But it's when people start to step out of that order, we have problems. Hey, Bishvaka. She woke up. Bishvaka. Yeah, everybody was sleeping. I'm starting to wake up now. That's why I've got this sheet behind me because the wife's in bed. Hey, David. They're all taking their naps. But listen, all we got 2 awake. Hi. Hey. Yeah. What? Say hi. Say hi on the live stream. Come on. Well, got any questions? See what I can't see if I got any on here or not. Live chat. I still wish I could see these questions longer. They only last for a little bit and they go off. Around me. Oh, that was Pete said, huh? Oh, okay. Let me see. My wife wants the hotspot. Okay. How's the weather today? Nice and sunny, but cold. I'm not even sure if the snow is melting at all. It still looks like it's cold enough. The snow hasn't melted. We got about, I think it was yesterday, a tiny bit. Not a whole lot, but I sure wish it would melt. This year is going to be a long winter compared to the last couple of years. I mean, was it last year? I think snow was gone about by the 10th, pretty much. And then the year before, it was the 30th of March, snow was all melted. Now, we did have a few storms after that, but the main snow had melted by the 30th of March. And this year, it's already, we still got a ways to go. I don't think it's going to melt right away. It really warms up. It's going to have to warm pretty good. Maple sap's not flowing good. It's been too cold. How's your maple sap doing, Pete? Look, we both get some pretty warm next couple of weeks. Yeah, it'd be nice. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to some more. I've got probably lots of surprises once the snow all melts. All the trash I have to clean around the house. It's gonna be quite a mess, I suppose. From the fire. And just right after the fire, it started snowing, and we've had snow since. So all the stuff that was laying around still running good. Sap's running good. Yeah, so here it's been too cold. We haven't had warm enough weather today to get sap running much. I just hope to boil 1 or 2 more times. I mean, we always have a pan on boiling. We don't have a gas boiler like you got, but we keep a pan boiling every day some. It's been freezing so solid that any sap that was in the bags freezes. Hey, David. Quiet. Well, if anybody's got anything to ask, I will say hey. Yeah. I will let you guys all go, and I hope you have a nice day, and you guys will take care.